Last week, I picked up this PC off eBay. The seller described it as faulty, but of course I really didn't pay attention to any of that because I was already captivated by the all-white aesthetic. At the time, there were loads of people watching it. There were about 29 people, including me, and I feared that if I had blinked at least 1 extra second, it would have just gone. The seller said that everything was included in the PC, and the only thing that was required was the GPU. So I put in this 4080, and now is the moment of truth to see whether I lost or I gained. I definitely didn't weigh any of my options before making the purchase, but let's see. Oh my god. The PC working was actually the least of the problems. Well, it was one of them, but now that I'm sure it works, what could the actual problem be? So I went back to the listing to see if I could get a detailed list of all the problems. From the seller's description, I knew they weren't too tech savvy, so that could either be to my advantage or to my disadvantage. The first issue was that the screw was stuck to the motherboard, so it would be difficult to remove the motherboard from the case. The second issue was that the AIO had trapped air bubbles, and this was proven to be true because on the first boot I could hear a weird noise coming out of the AIO, but this is by far the easiest fix out of the two. Now that we have a list of all the problems, it's time to tackle them one by one. But first, we have to take apart the whole system. I made my first attempt at trying to remove the screw from the case itself and not the motherboard, but I was unsuccessful, so I decided to remove the power supply first, and this should give us enough space to work with. If you pay close attention to the screws being used on the motherboard and on the power supply, you will notice that there are just the opposite screws. The screw on the motherboard is the wrong screw, and the screw on the power supply is the wrong screw. I think he used some kind of impact glue to screw this in. No need to worry, I got my tools ready, and with some reverse movement, we got it to work. Now that that is done, we can now take a closer look at the bundle that we got. So for the motherboard, we have a Z790 DDR4 motherboard. For the CPU, we have the i7-13700K. For the RAM, we have a 32GB Trident Z Royale, clocked at 4000 MHz. For the SSD, we got a 2TB Samsung SSD. For the power supply, we got an 850W power supply. For the case, we have a Lee & Lee case. For the cooler, we have a Lee & Lee CPU cooler. This entire bundle cost me £500, which is like $677 approximately. Let me know in the comment section, do you guys think this deal was worth it, or was I scammed? Anyways, do you know what is more annoying than seeing the activate windows at the bottom of your screen? It is seeing the activate windows at the bottom of your screen. With Keysfan, you don't have to worry about all this. Not only is the Windows key dirt cheap, all you have to do is go to keysfan.com, look for the Windows key or Office product that you would like to activate. Using code Dojo52 at checkout, you can get 52% off your Windows key. And Dojo62 at checkout, you can get 62% off any Office product. Now that we are sure that all the parts work, we can now rebuild the system. You might think we will be sticking with the DDR4 platform, but to maximize the profits when we flip the PC, we have to switch to the DDR5 platform. To do this, we need a plan. The first step is to take out all the parts and clean thoroughly. Next, we need to change the motherboard, RAM, and power supply. I wasn't really a fan of the black stickers at the back of the fans, so I used a vinyl wrap to cover it up. It's a subtle change, alright, but it really added to the overall aesthetic of the build. And the last thing to do is to start rebuilding. The motherboard for this build is the Z790 Aorus Pro X. For a normal PC user, you might call this overkill, but if you want to overclock, this motherboard is the best for it. The CPU we will be using is the same one from the PC, which was the i7-13700K. The seller was kind enough to leave the contact frame on the CPU on the old motherboard, so instead of buying a new one, we would just reuse that one. The RAM we're going to be using is the Lexar 32GB clock class 6400 MHz. Although it looks black right now, with a little bit of bleaching cream in the spray can, it became white. For the SSD, we'll be using the Corsair 1TB MP700 Pro. We also included a 2TB Samsung 990 Pro SSD. The power supply, we'll be using an MSI PCIe 5 850W power supply. For the cooler, we'll be using the Valkyrie Dragonfang 360mm AIO. This has to be the most extensively packed AIO we've had on this entire series. And I'm not complaining, I think companies should do this more often. To match the overall aesthetic, we used the fans that came with the PC. Once the case is prepped, the motherboard is prepped, we can now put everything together. This is the final look of the originally faulty PC. Here is before and here is after. And now we wait for the sale. See you on the next one.